John Proxy, and this is Blind Men, the next step in my Itch.iOdyssey. And I definitely didn't spend like 3 minutes trying to get this introduction correct. What I'm trying to do, in case anyone is brand new to the concept, is I about a year ago, like 9 months, whatever, I bought, let's press the start button. No, I shan't yet. I bought a bundle from Itch.io called the Racial Justice Bundle, and I'm trying to play every single game that's in that bundle, which is about 700 games for half an hour each. And this means occasionally I'm going to be playing games which are targeted squarely at people that definitely aren't me, but whatever, let's dive in anyway, let's check it out. This is another visual novel about boys' love, apparently. So let's read what Keegan has to say. I can't actually hear any sound right now. Is there any sound? Because I was... Oh, hang on. Okay. Okay. Why have I got no sound? This is my first recording of the day. So I didn't have my audio headphones on. Which meant I couldn't tell that my Twitch was playing in the background. But I don't think my Elgato picks it up. I think I specifically went out the way to make sure that it didn't hear my browser. Anyway, when I was 7, I was sent to live with my uncle. I had just lost my parents to a car accident, the same one that left the right side of my face disfigured. You don't look terribly... I mean, I guess he's missing an eye. He did his best to make me feel welcome, but it wasn't enough. Bullied by my peers and ignored by people that were supposed to help me, I didn't fit in anywhere. I spent most of my childhood thinking that it was somehow my fault. Yes, Heisen. I already do. I've got a YouTube channel that I do the introductions for, called The Proximity, which I've been doing that YouTube for about 10 years. But I'm starting to not do the introduction as much. But I like to do the introduction anyway. It's kind of baked into my performance nowadays. What was it? Ooh. Oh yeah. That's I used to do that because with OBS I used to separate the my mic and the game audio, which I can still do with the recording button. And I've set it to do that, so they're separate things. But right, to save on my computer space, oh yeah, I could just export the audio. Yes, I mean, it's what I used to do, but I don't want to... I can't be bothered to do that because I'm uploading it to Twitch, so I'm just going to download it from Twitch. And also, if I'm streaming, I want the audio to be good anyway. But yes, ideally, what I'd like to do is just export the audio, but OBS doesn't seem to have the option to do that. I have to record... What I could do is record a very low quality version of the stream, just to keep the audio. But yes. One day, after I came home crying, my uncle pulled me aside and said to me, "People are fools, Keegan, blinded by their own stupidity. They seek to destroy what they don't understand." I thought it was a very weird thing for my uncle to say. But people like you and me, we're different. We're better. Never forget that. At the moment, it all became clear. I finally understood what I had to do. I'd follow my uncle's footsteps, and I'd show them. So what do you think? Yeah, I appreciate you telling me, Heisen. Yeah, I've been doing the YouTubes for 10 years, although not very well. And so I'm trying to do a bit of both. And I may have to lean more into Twitch and not do the awkward intros while there are people present, definitely already knowing I'm here. Also, I kind of think it's amusing. So what do you think? I'm only missing the essay section of the application. Oh, we have some sound. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, I'm hoping that audio is good now. So, one thing I'll say about this game... two things I'll say. One, I've now played enough visual novels to know there's like a stock visual novel maker, and they all have exactly the same options in this. You change the graphics, right? But they've got the same options. that's the one thing. So I'm used to a general rhythm of these games. They're kind of exhausting to play as well because they involve me talking for half an hour. And I am talking for half an hour, but this is like reading for half an hour, read talking, which is a little bit harder to do. But the other thing is, a lot of visual novels are aimed at sort of, let's say, young women, right? Which, I mean, that's not a bad thing. But they're kind of all over the place. Young people, certainly. Obviously, you have the Japanese stuff, like the Danganronpas. And that's when, you know... And that's quite different. Japanese visual novels, quite different. They've branched out. They've grown. But, like, this kind of one, like, in the West, there's just so many of these. Because I guess if you've got a creative mind and you want to make a game, it's the easiest thing to do, to tell your story. The other thing I wanted to mention is, I've not played, like... Hang on. What I've played, like, one before, which is for teenage girls where you meet lots of boys. And that barely started. Like, there was a lot of that game that was just spent describing things. And I'm like, I'm not going to get to your game if you keep describing stuff. I don't care about the layout of your bedroom. If you want me to do the dating sim, do the dating. Let me get there. This is a slightly more interesting premise. But, and I've also played one that was marked Girls Love. I think that's called Yuri as well, but it's not Japanese. So it's like Western people taking Japanese stuff, right? But with the Girls Love one, the lesbian one, they were drawn in an anime style, but it obviously wasn't Japanese. So I wanted to know, who was it aimed at? Was it aimed at men who wanted to visual novel about lesbians? Like a I think it was pornographic. I didn't get that far. But not like super pornographic. I think it had like a scene or two. Or was it aimed at actual lesbians? And I ask the same of this. Is this aimed at boys into boys, or is this aimed at girls into boys? Because this style would indicate that it was aimed at girls. Because this... girls draw men this way. This androgynous way. Anyway... neither of those are complaints, by the way. I'm like, again, and I can't stress enough, like, this definitely isn't aimed at me, so like, why would I complain about it, right? The only reason I'm playing it is because I'm forcing myself to, so like, I'm the only person at fault here. Anyway, and it's just kind of interesting dive into different people's oeuvres. Is that a word? It's a French word, but is it the word that I want? I have no idea. I don't know why the League even asks for one. There's nothing particularly evil about good grammar. He's talking about his CV. I laugh nervously at my own bad attempt at a joke. The League of Evil is the highest authority when it comes to criminal activity around the world. They can make or destroy a supervillain's career with a single word, and even those that don't answer to them know better than to oppose them. I do appreciate the Doom lasers as well. Membership is for life, and vacancies are rare and far and in between. Even getting the opportunity to apply is difficult enough. I'm perfectly confident in my ability to deliver a flawless application, of course, but one can never be too sure. Which is exactly how I ended up asking one of my uncle's henchmen for his opinion on my application. It's about passion. Common criminals are a dime a dozen, but being a supervillain requires true dedication. He claps his hands together in excitement. He's almost as enthusiastic as I am about the idea of me getting to join the League, which makes the fact that I have no idea his name is rather embarrassing. It's not that I don't care, it's just that, after a while, henchmen just sort of blend in together, especially when I put them into the henchman blender. A doom machine I designed for murdering henchmen. During training, we were shown a video of the boss's speech at the Allied Nations. It was wonderful. Half the room was in tears by the end of it. It's the one about the powerful countries abusing the voting system of the organization to legitimize their actions, isn't it? I've seen it too. It's really good. It's not for nothing that Human Resources makes all the new recruits watch it. Hang on. It's not for nothing that the human resources makes all the new recruits watch it. I don't know, there's something very lumpy and awkward about that sentence. In just a few words, you can really feel what the boss is about. What makes him different from all the other supervillains out there. You don't need to worry so much. Right from the heart, you'll do fine. Besides, you're the Sphinx's nephew. Asks a lot of questions, the Sphinx. Give tricksy answers. It runs in the family. He said so himself, didn't he? I groan. Ugh, don't even start. It's bad enough that people think I only got the opportunity because of him in the first place. The last thing I want is for it to actually be true. Getting into the League by my own merits is the only way I'll ever be taken seriously as a villain by them, and by everyone else. Not to mention, he has this weird idea about spending all my time down here. It's not good for me. And it's not something recent either. Because intelligence agencies were always looking for my uncle, and we never stayed too long in one place. As a result, I was homeschooled for most of my life. Had a thought, and I completely forgot what that thought was, and it's going to annoy me. I'm going to make sure my tea is not too cold for me. Listening to blues, that's a strange supervillain soundtrack. No, no, I can't. I'm out of sync with the music. I shouldn't sing. What was I going to say? Oh yes, that's it. So, this reminds me a little bit of the Harlequin cartoon. I love the Harlequin cartoon. I think it's done wonders to the Harlequin character. And I'm guessing a lot of that was from the comics that I've just not read. I'm used to Harlequin from the original Batman series, which invented Harlequin. And if you go back and watch clips of that, it's not grown very well. It's not aged very well. There's specifically an episode where I found a clip of Harlequin and the green grass lady. I've forgotten her name. Poison Ivy. And they kidnap Bruce Wayne so they can go jewellery shopping. And I'm like, oh, that's not aged well. But like, yeah, I really love the Harlequin cartoon. It's got the woman in it from Big Bang Theory. But she's actually funny in Harlequin. She's really good. I was like, oh wow, I didn't know you could do comedy. Anyway, what was I going to say? So the reason it reminds me of it is because Harlequin uses the whole supervillainy thing and sort of dating as a metaphor quite a lot in that show. Superheroes and supervillains and acts of villainy as essentially a metaphor for dating, which I don't think this is actually doing. This is on the nose, just going to do dating within the supervillainy thing, but it's going to incidentally do some so hang on, what am I saying? Harley Quinn, especially since Harley Quinn's taken stuff from Deadpool, she's a little bit female Deadpool, which is fine. I mean, Harley Quinn was I don't know which one was first. I know Deadpool, when he first came out, wasn't like Deadpool nowadays. The original Deadpool was just rubbish. It took a second writer to inject all the meta commentary in, but anyway, the idea that insanity and meta commentary, I mean, that goes hand in hand. That's an old trope. That's like thousands of years old, right? That's like Greek old, ancient Greek old. Obviously, there's Greeks around nowadays. So there's anyway. I don't think this is trying to do satire, but it might it's just trying to be funny occasionally. Anyway, I'm going to stop not playing the game, although I do have to continue. Because I worry occasionally I'm just sort of undermining the thing I'm playing. Especially when it's sort of an earnest thing. Anything that's got to do with dating, unless it's made by a big company, always kind of seems like an earnest attempt at somebody's communication, and I don't like talking over it, because it's like, that was my art. Like, it doesn't matter that it's like a visual novel. Anyway, but ever since I finished my high school studies 3 years ago, he's been trying to get me to enroll into college, an actual college with other normal people. At first, it was just subtle hints and the occasional comment, which I accepted as his way of showing he cared about my future. However, since last month, he's been bringing in a bunch of pamphlets home. He went as far as outright telling me If I was having problems choosing, I should study engineering like he did. Yeah, we've only got 15 minutes left. We're not going to get to any of the actual meat of this game. So instead, when it comes to visual novels, it's more me ranking how good they are setting up their stories. Speaking of him, when are you planning to tell him? I have managed to keep the application process secret for the better part of a year, but it can't remain that way forever. As proud as it makes me that he hasn't found out yet, I'm no fool. I know that luck has played at least some part of it. Besides, Did I get that right? It doesn't matter. I meant it when I told the henchman that my uncle was my biggest inspiration. His approval would mean a lot to me. Next time I see him, I suppose, it will be better if he hears it from me now, and not from the League after I get accepted. He hates being left out, and considering what I'm planning, he might just have a stroke. I'm sorry, that eyebrow was unwarranted. Well, here's your chance. He's heading our way. I mean, this is smart, right? So, even if it's soft smart, it's smart. Well, is it? I never know. I can never tell. I think it is. Like, even if it's just writing. Well, I mean, Smart Aimed at Women is just writing. Mills and Boon's just writing. Twilight's just writing. Well, here's your chance. He's heading our way. What? He was supposed to come back. He was not supposed to come back until tonight. The henchman shrugs. I turn around and see my uncle walking through the door. He's never been particularly expressive man, but he looks even more serious than usual. Good morning, boss. The henchman salutes him, and my uncle dispenses with him with a nod. Good, and silently mouths good luck in my direction. Traitor. You're early. Oh, it's Elon Musk. There was an explosion in the lab. There's toxic material everywhere, and since it will take the cleanup crew a few hours to get rid of it, I told everyone to go home for the day. Okay, the reason they're gonna inadvertently do like satire, is because any examination of how an evil secret organization works is going to be a little bit silly, because you're sort of humanizing. I mean, in real life, if this organization existed, there couldn't possibly be anything but terrible cultists, right? Like a death cult. And I don't mean that when I say robes. I mean that any kind of oppressive, murderous, death. Like, if you want to take over the world, you have to have a certain way of thinking. And that certain way of thinking doesn't involve, we're all a big family here. Like I get that capitalism does that in like big business that ruins lives, but like they're not literally calling themselves supervillains, right? So like just having the word supervillain in your vocabulary means that you either, I guess, earnestly doing a comic thing. No, even like that would be bad writing in comics unless it was a comedy, unless it's satire. So like setting a romance in the kind of this thing, you're going to inadvertently do satire, I guess. Anyway, I look down and I notice that his clothes are stained with some kind of black substance. Instinctively, I take a step back. He looks down as well, shakes his head, and waves his hand in a dismissive gesture. This is just oil. I was working on some of my old prototypes when I was informed of the explosion. Speaking of Elon Musk, yeah. Anything I can help with, boss? No, I want to clear up some space in the storage room. Generally, people in modern day who cause harm on a massive scale are reasonably good at convincing themselves that they're the good guy. Or, people generally don't go around going, "Ha ha, I'm the baddie," because everyone's the hero of their own story, right? It takes self-examination. It's a strange amount of self-examination to be like, no, I'm the villain here, surely. Like, if you know you're the villain, then why are you still doing the thing? Like, you might go, well, I'm the villain of their story. Like, if you had an affair, like, you're the villain, right? I get that. But you don't then self-describe yourself as, I'm the affair haver. Now you will have the League of the Fair Havers, and we'll all, you know. Although saying that, I know there was that dating app, but like that's different. That is a sort of, here's a taboo app. Have a fair, you know. That's not calling you a villain. That's just trying to get your money by going, oh, this thing you shouldn't have. It's different. Anyway, no, I want to clear up some space in the storage room. I'll get rid of whatever I can get. What? I'll get rid of whatever I can't get in working condition. Okay, so the other thing about visual novels, especially ones that are about dating, is a lot of them will go out their way to set the scene, to have like an interesting setup. We're going to be about fairies in a garden and you were kidnapped. There's one. That's one I played. You are in a Dungeons and Dragons thing with just lesbians. That's one I played. That was one of the better ones because it was better at flowing back and forth. You are at the end of the world in an underground bunker. That's one I played. You are a supervillain about to apply for a job. That's this one right here. So they all go out their way to go, this is an interesting premise, you see. Look how interesting our story is. But because it's about dating, none of them can help but be about, like, the general, like, day-to-day boring accoutrement of just existing within these places. Like, the interesting thing about supervillains is usually said in it's going to the United Nations going, give me £14 or I will explode Berlin. You know, it's something. So go like, yes, you can tell stories of the individuals hanging around there, but it better be bloody compelling, because otherwise a part of me is always going to be going, but what's going on over there where the real action's going on? Like, I've not seen Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. No, is that what it's called? But obviously, that's satire. Like, that's a meta commentary because it knows the actions over there. So their story necessarily is about two people who know they're not the main character discussing stuff. As far as I know. Anyway, I guess the point is not specifically me complaining, but like I'm curious about why they spend so much time talking about, look at this, look at what they're talking about right now. He wants to clear up some space in the storage room. I wouldn't tell my friend, like, what did you do today? Nothing. I wouldn't, like, I did some washing up. That's that level. Like, if he started talking about doing the washing up, somebody has to do the washing up in this place, right? They eat. That means somebody has to do the washing up. Are we having a conversation about that? No, because that would be really boring. And I guess what they're doing is they're just explaining where everyone is and setting the scene, right? But, like, can't you get to the action faster? Like, again, I appreciate that the action isn't meant for me and I'm probably not going to be super keen on reading it, but, like, I'm just really curious about why so much time is spent faffing with just the general objects and the room layout and, like, and it's like, if it's Mills and Boons, like, I'm not reading the Mills and Boons, but, like, educated guess here, pirate ships or you know, open fields with flowers, things that you were like, oh, that's a romantic place. And so, yeah, definitely do set the scene. You want to have the Fabian guy with his long blonde hair come in. You want all the flowers and the trees to sway with him and set the scene. You want the light to, you know, I get that. That makes sense because that's a painting you're doing there. But, like, this painting is like, and there's somebody doing the washing up, and there's grey walls, and there's computers. Isn't this romantic? No, I don't think this is romantic. But, like, also, I guess if you're doing what this is, and what all these games are, is wouldn't it be cool if you found romance in the workplace? But because workplace is really boring, the workplace is now a supervillain's lab. And I'm just curious about that instinct. Again, I know I sounded like I was angry then. That was kind of faux comedy anger. Like, this setup clearly works for people because people keep doing it. Like, and I cannot stress that enough. I will keep repeating myself. Like, it's not for me, and I get it. I'm really worried that it's flashing red. But also, yeah, I'm wondering, that's a big worry. Anyway, I've got 5 minutes left to play this game, so I'm going to stop interrupting myself. I do this for a visual novel as well. And how many times do I have to tell you that you don't need to call me that? Sorry, I spent so much time with the henchman, it rubs off after a while. Among other things. Uncle, really? That was years ago and it only happened once. As far as I know, only because he got eaten by a shark, because it could happen again. Yes, the time the feeding cage malfunctioned and our perfectly trained sharks decided to have him for lunch instead. No. Options. What are you doing? Let me see. Turn. Back. Okay. That was years ago and it only happened once. Okay. That's your joke. That's your joke right there? It only happened once? No, sorry, this is... As far as I know, only because he got eaten by a shark before it could happen again. That's your punchline right there. This is you adding extra information to the punchline. Don't do that. You had a funny line there. That was your line. That was your funny line. When he got eaten by a shark in the workplace. Bad thing. Comedy. Haha. Don't explain the exact nature of it. The funniness is it being vague. What an unfortunate coincidence. What you've done is you've tried to be... This is your new punchline. Oh dear, like they're villains, so they don't really care about a shark murdering a person. But your punchline was back here. Right here. I guess the problem with visual novels, I guess, is that no one has any reason to have any restraint and nobody hires editors. The corner of his lips quirks up in an amused smile. I barely resist the urge to roll my eyes. Have you had... And it's got comedy music and everything. Have you had time to go through the pamphlets? The entrance exam begins next month, so you have to submit your papers as soon as possible. I spoke with Madame Mantis. She said that if you're interested in moving to America, she'd be happy to help with anything you need. Ever since she retired, she has amassed quite the list of contacts in the Board of Education. Fact, if you get everything else ready before next Friday, she'll personally write you a recommendation letter. I've met her a couple of times. She was a proper villain. The kind of woman that never does things out of the kindness of her heart. So that's, this is what I mean by satire. Like, you're gonna, like, I guess it's good to lean into it, because if you're gonna do this setting, you're gonna accidentally do satire. That's what I mean by that. So, like, talking about, like, how evil people are. If you're not doing that for comedic reasons, then you're doing it for very, playing it straight. And playing it straight's impossible if you're trying to do like, I don't know, maybe you're like no, there's not a lot of like romance in like terrorist organizations, right? That's a bit too real for people, but presumably that happens. Anyway, it's kind of horrific, isn't it? Meaning that he either asked her for a favour or she'd owed him one. So you have to downplay like how terrible this would actually be in real life. Either way, I bet he's only telling me this, so I feel pressured into enrolling. I'm glad that you brought it up, because I've been meaning to talk to you about that. You have? Does this mean you've chosen college already then? Not exactly. Well, I'm supposed to think of a number between 1 and 50 and draw that many birds. I'm going to draw one bird. I'm supposed to talk about... Oops. I don't think it'll let me hand in nothing, thankfully. I'm supposed to talk about blind men. The game that I just played, not like the general concept of blind men. So it's a boys love visual novel. So I said a lot of this in the review. Like, I've played a girls love visual novel, and a part of me is like, that had an anime aesthetic. So a part of me was like, right, like this is about lesbians, but is it smart for men or is it smart for women? And I'm not, like, I don't know about this. Like, it's clearly drawn by a woman. I don't know who drew it. It's got a kind of feminine, androgynous style to it. You know what? The term feminine androgynous, I don't think makes sense, but I think you know what I mean anyway. It's got a style that I wouldn't associate with how men draw, basically. But isn't the sort of younger like it's its own style. Like I played the one about like butterfly fairy romances, and that sort of had a kind of girl style to it. I'm being very kind of broad brush, by the way, when I'm talking about styles. I'm no expert. It's just kind of like when you go to DeviantArt, there's like a general theme, and I'm not an expert at DeviantArt. Anyway, I mean, I guess the only thing you really need to say about the art style is you were told in the plot that you were disfigured, and it's like I can see he's just a pretty boy with like an eye patch on, and like you can barely tell, apart from the eye patch. But like, I mean, maybe he's got a missing eye, right? So that's but like he's uglified, but like in a way that doesn't actually make him ugly. But like that's fine, because obviously it's smart. My biggest issue, one, I don't know how to draw this at all. I might just draw him. You know what? That's what I should do. He's got an eye patch on. He's got long hair. Sort of see his ear. Apparently there's romance in this game. That's the problem with me playing like visual novels. Like some of them require me to get past half an hour, and like I'm just not going to be able to. But also, this game definitely wasn't for me. And a part of me saying that is like embarrassment, which I don't like the idea of being embarrassed to play a game. Like, it's just a game, John. Make him smiling because I actually put his eye in the wrong place. Yeah, I kind of screwed up that composition. Anyway, he owns a neck. Proud owner of a neck. Be white. Black. His arms, they go on forever. Probably, I don't know. I don't know, an executive decision was made there. We don't have... yeah, I was going to say, we don't have the red for the background, but like, that's fine. Letting this go. It's a bit too much. So I kind of just... That's fine. Is it? Kind of weird, to be honest, John. Yeah, it is kind of weird. I mean, I could have made pink his skin colour as well. So yeah, I can't really tell you much. You've not really described the game yet, John. No, I've not, but I didn't get to a game, did I? So the issue with this and a couple of other games like this is, like, I'm always going to be slightly more enamoured with the setting than I am with the actual romance, because it's not for me. But like, there's also these weird issues with like super villainy, where you're like, it has to be slightly satire, or at least slightly comic, because obviously a real romance in an evil terrorist organisation would still be quite unwatchable, right? You don't want to watch. I mean, maybe there is a story there, but this had to make it slightly cartoony to get away with it. We were like James Bond supervillains in a world that is wink wink nudge nudge about the existence of supervillains, right? He doesn't have a tie on, it's just kind of a weird... Anyway. I don't even know if I've said anything during this. I think purple makes sense now that I think about it. There we go. What's it called? It's called Blind Men. I'm sure it's lovely. It's not for me, and I feel bad judging it when it's clearly not for me. But like with the girls one, they actually got somewhere on their trip, and they were in a car. They went to a shop. Like, I didn't get very far, but I could actually see, oh, that's the person you meet. I don't even know if I met any of the boys. Maybe it was the henchman. And, like, I met the henchman and I met his uncle. Like, I did, like, I barely got anywhere. But I mean, the art style was good. I can imagine. I can imagine it's probably quite good. Like just didn't get far enough. I'm sorry. Why am I doing this? Let's hand it in. I hope if this is someone's favourite game, I've not. I shouldn't be so incredulous. Like I wanted to go in with an open mind. But like, I mean, it seemed nice. I'm trying to come out of this not looking like a dick, basically. And I'm being honest about wanting to go in. Like, I wouldn't have played it if I didn't want to go in with an open mind. It's not like I mocked it. Like, I've read it all, but I did pause quite a lot to speculate. And maybe if I didn't, I would have got to a part that sort of explained some of the plot. But yeah, you know what? It's fine. Yeah, like, it didn't seem bad. I'm sure. Like, if you want a story about boys' love, this is presumably. Hang on, let's draw a bird. This is probably fine, as far as I can tell. Let's see what I get. Hey, I keep getting A's. I keep getting A's. Okay. Not exactly, Keegan. Cut to the chase. What if I didn't want to go to college? He stares at me in silence for what feels like an eternity. Right, it's actually been half an hour, so I actually have to stop recording this now. What I'm going to do, so I'm going to save in these steps. I'm going to click forwards quite a lot. We're going to see if this goes anywhere anytime soon. Just out of curiosity, how long does this conversation go for? And this is like, had I not faffed. So there we go, there's a new scene. There we go, we get choices. To kidnap Professor Schultz. Keep tapping, John. Now, this isn't the way this is supposed to be experienced. And I don't know why anyone would play one of these games. There we go. So, I won't lie. Because I always do this, is why I always click through if it's one of these visual novels. And I did one where I clicked through for like 5 minutes and there wasn't anything like this. But there we go. Like, this is the love interests, I assume. I'm gonna. Well, I may as well turn the game off. No, I won't turn the game off just yet. I'll do another round of clicking. Let's see what our next game is going to be. By minimizing this. So that was Blind Men, a boys' love visual novel about a supervillain and the spies that try to stop him. Our next game is going to be Sewer Rave. It's a party with rats. Let's have a closer look at that. I've sensed that this is going to be very different from the game we just played. Hey buddy, you've been cordially invited to the sewer for the biggest rat party ever hosted. Ooh, it's a 2.5D. Cool. It's a surreal randomized exploration game where you crawl around a rat-infested sewer during a giant rave. Search labyrinthine sewers to discover game secrets and wisdoms only meant for rodents. Grab a cup of sludge and meet some rats. Oh, well, like, I wasn't gonna make a cup of tea because I just had one. But you know, I better make one now. Right. I'm also gonna clap because of reasons. Right. But yes, that was blind men. I'm just going to do some more clicking to see if I can get any more actual plot to happen before I turn this off. Is that the... it is the James Bond, and you can flirt with him. Of course I would. There you go. I don't think it's going to get anywhere anytime soon. I think I'm going to have to turn this off. I think... I mean, the other point is... It's... is foreplay the right word? You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to dive in too quickly as well. I get that. Anyway, I'm going to turn this off and quit the game. There we go. That was Blind Men. Right, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea. But while I do that, I get to test out